This episode, we're going to be running the high-speed cameras. Right? We're going to run the cameras at high speed, and we're going to zoom in on the belts. So this is like Craftsman, MTD. This is a Murray, but really doesn't matter. 1980s, 90s, 2000. And I say cheaper machines because they are cheaper machines. They're not cheap as in they don't cost a lot. They're not cheap as in they're a piece of junk. They're cheaper than, let's say, Arians or something like that. So we're going to take the cameras and I'm going to get in there and I'm going to show you guys some high-speed footage as we slow it down. So I record between 60 frames and 120 frames and then show you that and then slow it down. I'm going to show you what happens with what I call belt harmonics, right? And as these belts start to move around and flap, the conditions that can occur from as a result of this. So the customer's complaint, and this is TJ's machine. What's up, TJ? The complaint here is that it keeps throwing belts. Now, once you've ruled out certain issues regarding belt alignment, and there is an alignment issue here. It's not bad, but there is an alignment issue here, which I fixed. But if you rule out issues of belt alignment, rule out issues of pulleys and things where the bearings may be bad and things are sloppy. In this case, we're looking more specifically at the Auger belt here in the Auger system. That's all fine. Once that's all ruled out, then what you're left with is obviously something else. So he's asked me to solve this problem. He needs it solved because the machine is useless otherwise, and we don't want to get involved in tricks and things here to try to solve this problem, but we need to solve the problem the good old-fashioned way. And I think the best way to do this is to actually get in there and see what's going on, and then taking a good look at everything, ruling out all the common things that I just spoke of, and then let's just find out. So stay tuned. Let's get involved. So what you're seeing here, so this is a brake, right? And it rolls on this guy. So I got the case separated, right? Just hooked in here. And if you could probably even tighten that a little bit. So there's a couple of spots we can get, by the way, we can get some more lubricant in there. It's a sealed bearing, but you still want to try. There's a place over here for lubricant. A place down there. And then you can even try to sneak some into these idlers. But what I'm trying to show you is that there's no guides down below, and that's what's happening. So my thinking is if we go with a different belt, we may be able to maybe kind of have like a thinner belt or something. Like this one, this is a thinner belt. See? And that's supposed to be like that. What we're going to do is first is, I think this belt is no good, so we got to get that belt off. This will come right off. All right, and then I'm going to climb down in there and we're going to try to get that belt off. So I just have to pull this back a little bit, all right, in order to kind of clutch it out. And then we can pull that belt off. And let's see what the condition is. I think that one has a nick in it. All right, so it's pretty simple and straightforward. I took that off. We're just going to you just pull this back out of your way. I got gloves on, so while I'm here, I'm going to take some of this chain and cable lube and let it just roll in. It'll find its way into the bearing, and it will grease up, kinda. It's not like the wax. This stuff took me what, 6 months to get this stuff here, and I'm going to probably talk about that on a live stream. But it's something to check. Now, while you're here, right, you want to lift this up and check the bearing in here. So I'm just lifting this up, and you're probably not going to be able to see it from that shot, because I've got you in this way. He had some belts. So his belt was a Noma. It was a 579932, and it's a slightly thinner belt, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But he picked up a Made in USA belt. I don't know the name of it. I'm just looking around. But we can get the number. It looks like a Briggs belt. Yeah, and I think it's got 2 numbers on it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go grab a quick shot of this with the other camera, and we'll be back and we'll put it on just so we know which one we used. All right, so I took some shots, whether they'll be here or right before here or right after I say this. Put my gloves on, so we're going to use that nice new belt. And it's real simple to do. Got the case split. I got a couple of chocks holding it up, and maybe I'll get a picture of that a little bit just to show you. But just be careful, make sure it's stable, because you got your hands in here, guys. And that's why I say wear gloves, because if it did, this isn't a really big machine. It's not super heavy, but that doesn't make it less dangerous. Oh, hold on. Let's get it around the top first. And then we'll kind of, can we get it down here? Yeah, we can get it down here, around there like that. And then we should be able to just kind of squeeze it in. I'm going to pull this guy back because it's not a super heavy spring. If you need help, right, with something, yeah, we got it. Get something to give you, piece of screwdriver, piece of wood, something. But it's on there, we're okay. So that's not a problem, right? We'll put a little bit more of my liquid wrench from the other side too. And it'll find its way in there. They're in good shape. It goes in, right? Those seals are not that great, so. Now, I've got to figure out, so that's the one. I'm going to hang this one up on his handlebars. So that's the one. That's not the one we're having an issue with. Now, he put this one on here. It's already broken. I just want to show you guys if you can see it. It's already got a cog missing out of it. Hopefully you can see that. So, but this is about the size. So I'm going to go poke around with this and see, but up here it lays nice, but here I'm not so sure. You may not be able to see it when I come up with it. I don't know. Let me play around a little bit. Let me see. All right, so he's got a Murray belt that I like, but what I see is this is bent. And I think you can see it. You see it's cocked? And you can see this thing is just going way out. Way out. Yep. All right, so what we need to do, I'm going to take this off, and then I'm going to bend this straight. And depending upon what torch I need to use, I just don't like doing it with fuel around, but get out the fire extinguisher. Let me see. Maybe I can just use my acetylene torch to do it. So we certainly don't want to bend the rod. We want to bend the flat. And we're just going to have to heat it a little. I don't want to burn that nylon bushing. Let's just see if I can get it. Yeah, that's hot. Might require a couple of tries, but yeah, all right. Let me cool it down because we're going to burn that bushing otherwise. Yeah, that's much more better. See, nice and straight that is. Yeah, and it's riding at the correct spot. So I got the screwdriver in there. I slacked this, right? Because we're just setting the first belt tensioner. Well, it's a belt guide, really. And I got my vice grip on here because I'm kind of pressing against the screwdriver. That's my clearance. The screwdriver maintains that. Okay, I don't think this one does anything. Because if this is adjusted properly, it keeps that belt nice and straight and up, in a nice position. It's over here where all of this belt slop, and see what it's doing? I can easily, I can easily walk that belt off, see? So I don't think this one does anything, but let's leave it there because it can help keep it on. And this is the position that was stripped, and he says this was the original position. And if you push this down, right, it'll keep it on this pulley here. But what I think is it originally was down here, and I'll show you where. And it was not, I don't think it was on right, but that remains to be seen. Yeah, I don't think it was even on right, but I'm going to put it back, and I'm going to show you how I think it's actually more correct, because I don't think this is going to do anything. I'll be honest with you, that's not going to do it. It's got to be down here. So let me work that angle. All right, here's the plan. So what I want to do is I'm going to lower this thing down. We're going to aim the camera at the belts as best as we can because this thing is in the way here. But we're going to try to get a good shot, get it lit well, and then I'm going to shoot at 60 frames in the first sequence, and I'll probably, I'll label them and edit, and then I'm going to try and shoot at 120. And I'll slow that footage down where I can, and we'll see how much belt movement there is. We're going to try it this way, right, with the arrangement that I have and this little keeper over here, and then maybe we'll try it again with the keeper moved over here, all right? And let's just see what it does, right? So let's get started. All right, so for example, here's the setup. So I'm going to shoot high-speed belt recording. So I'm starting to get the camera set up. Right, I got my microphone up there, aiming down, and I've got it set to negative 10 dB. So it'll lower the volume a little bit, which will help in post, and I won't get overmodulation. I got this all set up. This seems to be a better spot for the light. It seems to be aiming properly because I need to get down a little bit lower on the machine. And I'm running the HDMI, so this is, essentially, I'll turn a little light on so you could see a little bit more of the setup. So I got my HDMI into my little coupler here and out. My battery comes down. I got another little coupler right there. I throw the mats down, and so you can see it on the monitor here, so I can actually look at the shot better. And later on I'll be able to see it on the monitors here. This is the A10 Mini, so this is my HDMI or DVI controller, and I just have it on the one camera right now. So that's actually taking the cord right from the camera, and it will also go into the computer. I can stream with it, I can view with it, I can do work with it, and then this is the program out. In other words, this is what everybody would see. Let me turn this other little light off. This is what, for example, what the internet would see, but you could see this way. There's a little bit of glare on it because of the other lights that are in here, but I can get in there and pretty close, and I can see if I like the lighting and if I want to make any adjustments, if it's focused. All right, so now it's time to start recording. Okay, so what I'm seeing is a lot of movement here, and I also caught it with the other camera at 60 FPS, 50 megabits. A lot of movement in here. There's almost no movement over here. And so this one could probably be better off over here because all of the movement is on this other side. And I think one of the things we can also do is it's also kind of stressing the belt over here, this other belt, and I'll show you that in a bit. So I think what we'll do, everything seems to be okay. You know, the bearings are all good. I'm going to loosen this up just a little bit, just to get it out of the way of this drive belt. And then we'll move this one over here. And then we'll go to, let's do 100 frames per second next. And then we'll do that. All right, so I just want to regurgitate. I think reiterate. I think one of the problems is that this belt is not sitting deep enough into that bottom pulley. And it's too easy for it to jump off the rails, and then you have a problem. So we're going to break the case open and we're going to switch belts. So if you feel like you're getting value out of this so far, hit the like button. That's the thumbs up. If you feel like you're not getting any value out of it, then hit this button twice. So this is the belt that he originally had on, and he said he was throwing belt, and it broke a cog. And these are the belts that I now want to use. He bought a couple of different ones, and this is what I want to use. So what's the difference? Well, there's also a length difference. There's a slight length difference. So I'm going to fit them, but I want you to see, this is an MTD belt, and I will, made in Mexico, and it's a 3/8 belt. And I will take a picture of it, okay, but you can see it here, and it is the 754-0367, right? I think this is the one we're going to use, but we're also looking at this one. This is a Briggs belt, same kind of thing, just a cogged style belt, and this one is the 0322SS, right? A little different length, but they're both 3/8. The issue is these bigger belts. This is the one he had on, and the one I just ran those high frame rate tests on. They are thicker, much thicker. They're almost a 1/2 inch. It's probably a weird size. There are different size belts. There's metric sizes. There's also sizing belts for. Like these are belts for like power equipment and gasoline engines, but there's a series of belts that are used in industry. I forget what they're called, but they're mostly for electric motors, and they actually set up different. So we're going to take this one, that's his, put it to the side, and we're going to look at one of these next, all right? And I'll let you know which one kind of fits the best. All right, let me just clue everybody in, guys. So plan is now we're done with the first series of tests, 60 frames, 120 frames. Still got the camera set up over there. I'm going to crack the case now, and we're going to do the belt swap. We're going to go to a thinner belt, and the concept is, especially on the bottom pulley, as I've mentioned all along, is that bottom pulley there's no belt guides down there, and so you can see that belt is flopping around in the breeze. Now we can't stop that really. We can minimize it, but we can't really stop it. But what we can do is with a slightly thinner belt, a little bit less of an aggressive, meaty profile, it's going to sit lower in the V groove of that bottom pulley, and at the top as well. But it's going to sit a little bit lower, and as it sits lower in that V groove, as it's flopping, if it ever wanted to try to rise and climb when it gets into that harmonic, it's still going to do that. But as it's trying to rise up, it has a further way to travel on both sides of that pulley is capturing it, and it's going to act like a bit of a keeper. So let's find out, right? In a way, I guess it's the best way to describe it. It's kind of like a keeper. Because it's like a belt guide, but an actual belt guide is something different, right? It's like the wire things on the side. No, I'm not welding up some crazy thing, right? I can't afford it on this, and neither can he. The idea here is to work with conventional stuff and just get it right, okay? And so he wasn't even sure. Most of these belts that he has here, especially the MTD ones, whatever, he's trying to order the right belt for the machine. But as these things get older, there's replacement numbers, there's little changes. Sometimes it's hard to find the information. Once I get the right belt in here, and he gets a nice snowstorm, and it doesn't fall off, he now knows what the correct belt is, all right? And so he can just marshal forward, into the future. All right, let's get started. All right, so this is the MTD belt, the brown one. Made in Mexico. This is the 754-0367. 120 frames per second test at 100 megabits per bit rate, per second bit rate. So as you can see, I've adjusted everything. Case is back together, and what I want to show is if you look at the alignment of the belt now, it's pretty good. It's just in a little bit. The belt is a little bit loose, right? Because before the belt was actually a little too tight, and what was happening is that it was overriding the brake, and you really don't want that. So that's another indication that something may not be right. And I've got this keeper in here, and I've got this keeper up there. This one is about a screwdriver blade width, right, from the pulley and the belt. Notice the belt sits a lot deeper in the pulley, and it can also be tightened up a little bit more. So this can actually go forward, this idler pulley, and you can see it grabs pretty good. It should be correct. So I'd like to kind of leave a bit of adjustment, so that if the belt stretches, he can come in and just move this pulley in. And I think that's probably a good way to handle it. Let me just set everything up. I think we look pretty good. We're in pretty tight. And let me turn the mic down a little bit and we'll start. So what we're seeing is, I can actually see down here, it almost wants to come off the pulley. It could probably be a shorter belt, and that might work as well. So I might want to see if the other belt is a little bit better. This could also be tightened a little bit more, like this can be driven in a little bit more, and it'll help hold it. But I think maybe even a slightly shorter belt might do it, so I might want to try that. Also, we need to have something over here, right? Because it is trying to work its way off. It's either that or this has to go in further. But the problem is that you want to leave some adjustment here as the belt wears. But you don't really need that per se, because this is sprung load. So it's only going to kind of put as much, see? As much pressure as it's going to put based upon the spring. So I want to see what it looks like with it moved over a little bit more first. So now this time, all right, we're fully adjusted. This is adjusted properly. I've got this adjusted. I think what can happen is, watch that, right? Watch. See how it bounces? That's the thing, is when you unload, it's not loaded that's the problem. It's when it goes to unload, the harmonic starts, and that's when, you know, the belt issues start. Now this thing I don't like. This is kind of getting caught up over there. I think, yeah, this needs to be bent. Oh, great. How is that like that? How did that get that way? Oh, yeah, it's a little weird. There needs to be another stop here. Something, maybe, I see, a long bolt right here. Yeah, a longer one of these bolts, because it needs to stop. It's coming too far back. It's another little thing I noticed. All right, we know how to solve that. Okay, so I like this setup. This is about as good as we're going to get it, guys. And it's still going to flop, but hopefully it won't climb. Pulling this in here, that you can't pull it in any further. It'll grab the pulley here, it'll grab the pulley down there, and it'll wear, right? It'll wear, because you want this to have a little bit of gap so that when this belt gets straight, okay, it's not being pushed in by something that's not a bearing or an idler, right, that's rolling. It'll wear the belt. So you can't have that, and it's got a little bit of clearance. Now I can see it's jumping over here. All right, we're going to want to fix that. All right, we're going to need to move this guy back to there. And then I think we'll do one more test and we're done. All right, here we go. Last test. It's on this side now because I saw a lot of movement. So one of the nice things is that you don't have to split the case if you want to just change a belt. You can reach in here. It's one of the nice things about it. I split it so that I can get in there and inspect and do a few things, but we're all good to go here. I tried the other belt and the Black Briggs, and it's too short. So we're back to this brown one, and I wanted to show you that you see the clearance here, this clearance. So I've adjusted this keeper so that when the belt gets taut, there's just a little bit of room. Hopefully it's focusing. Okay, just a little bit. Okay, that's what you want. And then this is adjusted all the way in. And we'll see it in motion in a bit. And you can actually see it's fitting a little bit nicer into the grooves. It's kind of hard to see, but yeah, it's definitely fitting a little bit nicer into those grooves. See? It's a hard shot. See if you can see it on this side too. Yeah, you can see it a little bit better there. It's definitely fitting a little bit nicer. And then when you kind of bring it taut, okay, the problem is when it unloads, but you see how it fits deeper in that groove? That's appropriate. That's a deep groove pulley. All right, last test for the evening, just a quick forward and reverse test. That's all we need to do. Just run the auger, run the drive, you know, list a little bit over here. Hopefully we don't screw anything up. I can't go too far, but just want to make sure it works. And then, you know, we'll test it again out on the lawn or something another time. But let's just see what it does. Oh yeah, I put it in first. I could barely hold it back. It was trying to get a lot of traction. I couldn't hold it back. All right, so we're fine. I don't see. I'm gonna put the bottom on, the bottom pan, and then I'm probably done for tonight. I'll see you guys in a bit. I think it's looking pretty good. Okay, we got the butt on, the butt plate, the bottom plate. So here's my plan. So you notice this here, right? That is kind of like on the edge, and it kind of chews this up and it gets a little hung up. There's no adjustment, but I came up with the idea as for the cover, right, I'll change the bolt. And what we'll do is we'll just put some washers, right? And you see how it moves? See how much I can actually get it to take up that clearance? Because it's like right on the edge, and it kind of just gets a little hung up. And we got some room, so yeah, this is a good bolt for it. And then I'll come up with some washers, and then we'll put the plastic cover on, and you just tighten it, and it's done. And it acts as a stop, so you get a much nicer feel. You know, I like that. All right. See, it just hits right there. It's perfect. All right, that was fun shooting this one. Definitely interesting. I thought it was interesting. Hopefully you guys found some value in it. So like I said earlier, you know, hit the like button, and you know, guys, leave a comment and subscribe if you haven't subscribed so far. Let's build the channel up together. We got to do it together. I can't do it on my own because I can't watch all of my videos 1,000 million times like you guys get. Anyway, come back for so this is a Murray, right? This is TJ's Murray, but you know, come back for the rest of it because there actually are some other videos in this series. There's a couple that I did live, and they're under the live button, right? The live part of the channel. And this will be more in probably, well, in a couple of weeks, depending upon when you see this. So I'll have it all in a folder at some point as I release it. Also, I'm going to be releasing, this video is being released as a standalone because it's most of it's taken in 4K. So I do most of my work in 4K, but not all of it. And of course, it'll be on the live, and that's 1080p. So come on back for the rest of it, and I will see you guys soon over here at Auger's Garage.